everyone, and welcome to my channel, Yoga for Everybody. My name's Claudia, and in today's class we will continue with the Beginner Yoga series theme, and the focus of today's class will be on the lower body. In particular, we will be looking at the poses to release tension in our hips and the lower back. As always, if you enjoy this class, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, maybe give me a follow on Instagram, connect with me on Facebook, and do let me know what you think of this class in comments. And I hope you enjoy today's practice. Let's begin. Begin today's class seated on our mats with our legs crossed, so in an easy cross-legged posture, Sukhasana. So come down onto the floor and then just cross your left shin over your right to start with, and let your knees gently relax down. So remember, if you're finding this posture quite difficult, if you're struggling to balance and sit up straight, just pop yourself up onto a blanket or a block or a pillow or something to elevate yourself up, and you will notice that your hips will tilt forwards, and that will help you with sitting up straight. Otherwise, just relax your hands onto your knees, relax the shoulders back and down, tuck your chin slightly, close your eyes, and let's take a deep inhale in through the nose. Filling the body with the breath, feel it travelling all the way down into your belly, and then a slow exhale through the nose. So we're going to take another couple of breaths in this pose. Try and focus your attention on the present moment, so try not to think about anything that you've been doing before this class or anything that you need to do after. Just try and notice how you're feeling at this particular moment in time. Another deep breath in and exhale. And then open your eyes and place your fingertips in front of you. Take an inhale, and on an exhale we're going to start walking the fingertips forwards. So our first lower back and hip stretch. So go as far as feels comfortable for the body. You don't have to go all the way down onto the floor with your forehead. Just stay at your level. Take it easy. Relax into the stretch. On each inhalation, you can lengthen and look forwards. And on an exhale, maybe walk your fingertips a little bit further away from you. So we're going to hang in this pose for a couple of breaths. You can stack your fists on top of one another and drop your forehead down onto your fists, or maybe you want to grab a block or two if you want to. Whichever variation works for you. Let's just take another couple of deep breaths here. So hopefully you feel this in both in your hips and your lower back. Another deep breath in. And then walk your fingertips back towards you. Keep your right knee bent and just open your left leg out to the side. And then place the right foot into your left thigh. Stretch your left hand somewhere on your left leg. Inhale, right arm up. And on an exhale, we're taking a side bend to the left. So you don't have to go very deep. Remember, we're just warming up. What I'd like you to focus on is not trying to lean forwards in order to reach your toes, but try and stretch through your right side. So your right shoulder should be aligned with your right hip, and you're not lifting off your right sit bone in order to stretch. So you're still planting equally into the floor with your sit bones. You can gaze up towards your right fingertips, or just gaze down towards the floor. One more deep breath in. And then on an exhale, start turning your right hand towards your left toes. turning your hips towards the left toe, so squaring your hips towards your foot. So we're doing a forward fold, another excellent stretch for the lower back as well as the back of your legs. So again, just go as far as feels comfortable for you. You can have your hands on the floor, maybe hands to your shin, maybe grab hold of your left foot if you can reach. And again, just try and relax into the stretch. So go as deep as feels good for you. Try not to overlock the knee, so keep your knee maybe a tiny little bit bent. And deep breathing. And as always, my cat is going mental behind me. One more inhale. And then exhale, walk your hands back towards you and come up, back to center. And then place your left hand onto your right knee, right hand behind you. Take an inhale. And on an exhale, we're just going to take a gentle twist to the right. One more inhale. And then exhale, release. And then we're going to do a stretch for the inner left hip. So we don't always do the internal rotation of the hips in yoga, so it's going to be quite a different stretch to what you're used to. So place your right shin so it's parallel with either the long edge of the mat or the short edge of the mat, depending on how you're sat. And then bend your left knee and roll onto the inside of your left foot and bring your left knee towards your right foot. So your left shin's now parallel towards the back of your mat. So hopefully you can see it. Let me just turn around so you can see it better. So this is the position that we're kind of after. And then you're going to place your hands by your hips and just relax in this position. So you should hopefully feel a good stretch in your left hip already. If you want to go a little bit deeper, take an inhale, and on an exhale, just start walking your hands back, sort of at a diagonal, just as far as feels comfortable and as far as feels good for the stretch. Don't have to lower all the way down, but if you want to, you can lower onto your elbows. I'm going to stay up on my hands because this already feels quite intense in my left hip. Another deep breath in. And then exhale, come up. And then keep your right foot where it is and bring your left leg around and place your left foot on top of your right knee. So it's a fire log pose, quite a deep hip stretch. So you will notice that my left knee is lifted, which is absolutely fine. My hips are quite tight. The aim is to have your shins sort of parallel to one another and then gently release the left knee down. If you find that this pose is quite easy, your hips are quite open, you can fold forwards, bring your fingertips in front of you and walk them forwards. But for most of us, this will be quite an intense stretch already. So just stay at your own level and try and relax and breathe into the left hip. One more breath in. And then on an exhale, we're going to release the legs, maybe stretch them in front of you, give them a bit of a shake. And we'll do the same sequence on the other leg. So coming back into a cross-legged posture with your right shin over your left now, relaxing the knees down gently. And then fingertips in front of you, inhale, and on an exhale, start walking your hands forwards, again, as far as feels good for the hips and the lower back. And by the way, if the fire log pose didn't work for you, if you found that too intense, you can always just go back into this cross-legged seated posture instead. So let's just take a few more breaths in this cross-legged forward fold. Feel the tension releasing in the lower back and the hips. One more deep breath in. And then walk your fingertips back towards your body. Keep your left knee bent this time. Open your right leg out to the side. And bring your left foot into your right thigh this time. Have your right hand down your right leg. Inhale, lift your left arm up. And on an exhale, we're taking a side stretch to the right this time. So again, the aim is not to lean forwards and grab the toes. We're trying to stretch through the left side of the body, so try and keep your left shoulder aligned with your left hip. Really stretch through the left fingertips, gaze up or down, whatever feels more comfortable for the neck. Hold it for another breath. And then on an exhale, start rotating your hips towards your right toes, reaching for somewhere on that right foot or right leg, sorry. So either grab hold of your shins, maybe you need to come up and hold on to your thighs, maybe fingertips to the floor, maybe you can grab hold of your right foot. And wherever you are, let's just try and relax into the stretch. Again, you should feel it in your lower back and the back of your right leg, the hamstrings. Deep breaths. Another inhale in, and on an exhale, let's come back up. To return into neutral position, place your right hand onto your left knee, left fingertips behind you. Inhale, on an exhale, just a gentle twist to the left. Take a breath in, on an exhale, come back to center. And we'll do that same internal hip rotation pose on this side. So place your left shin parallel with the short, or the long, or the short edge of the mat, depending on whichever way you're facing. So you will see that my left hip's a lot tighter, so my left knee is not coming down onto the floor, which is absolutely fine. If you want to, you can put a prop between your knee and the floor, a block or a pillow, or whatever you find comfortable. And then turn onto the inside of your right foot, bring your right knee into your left, or near your left foot, so your right shin's now parallel with your cat or the short edge of my mat. So I really feel this in the right hip now. Place your fingertips back behind you and just stay here if this is already quite intense. But if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can maybe start walking your hands back, maybe lower onto your elbows if you want to, but otherwise stay up on your hands. Again, I'm just going to stay here because it's already quite intense for me. Whichever variation you are doing, another deep breath in. And then come back up, keeping your left shin where it is. Turn your right leg, bring it round, and place your right foot on top of your left knee, relaxing the right knee down as much as possible. So again, a really deep stretch for the hips, so just be mindful if this is not working out, just cross your legs and stay in an easy cross-legged posture. Otherwise, let's just stay here for another couple of breaths, maybe just using the hand to gently press on the knee. And of course, if you feel quite open in your hips, you can bring your fingertips in front of you and fold forwards. I'm not going to do that today. Another deep breath. And then exhale, release, stretch your legs out in front of you, maybe give them a bit of a shake. And from here, we're going to come into a tabletop position. So come onto your hands and your knees. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Shoulders are over your wrists, your shoulder width apart with your hands. And then hips are over your knees, your hip width apart with your legs. You can have your toes tucked or release them, whatever feels best for you today. From here, we're doing 3 cycles of cat-cow to just continue warming up the spine. So on an inhale, you're going to drop your belly down, lift your chest and look forwards. And on an exhale, round the spine, bring your chin towards your chest and look down. And you can even move your hips back a little bit so you can feel it not only in the upper back but in the lower back, which is what the focus of today's class is. Inhale, arch the spine, look forwards. And exhale, round the back and look down. One last time, inhale, arch the spine, look forwards. And inhale, round the back and look down. Inhale, come into a neutral spine. On an exhale, tuck the toes and lift your hips up into our first downward facing dog. So keeping the knees bent to start with, let's focus on stretching the lower back. So really lift your hips up towards the sky. Rotate the shoulders away from your ears. And then see if you can drop one heel down onto the mat and hold. And then switch sides, drop the other heel down onto the mat and hold. And then you can continue doing this movement for another couple of breaths, or if you want to, you can release both heels down onto the floor. So whatever works for you today. Let's have another breath. On an exhale, drop your knees back down onto the mat, back into a tabletop position. Inhale, stretch your right leg back and lift your right leg off the floor a couple of inches, or maybe you can lift it until it's parallel with the floor. On an exhale, bend your right knee around the spine, bring your knee towards your chest, maybe see if you can touch your nose, and then step your right foot in between your hands. So we're coming into a low lunge position. Bring your left knee as far back as you need to feel the stretch at the front of your left hip, the psoas. Just make sure your right knee is not going over your right toes, so it's over your right ankle or maybe just slightly behind. So this could be quite a deep stretch for some people already. You can release your left toes to deepen the stretch. And let's just hold here for a couple of breaths. If you notice that your hips are starting to release and you want to go a little bit deeper, you don't have to, you can just stay here. But if you want to, place your left hand flat onto the mat and then start bending your left knee, bringing your foot towards you, and then bring your right hand around and grab hold of your left foot. So this will be a deeper stretch for your thighs, the hips. Just hold here. If you're holding on to your foot, see if you can kick your foot into your hand and open your right shoulder up. So a bit of a bonus stretch here, opening up the right shoulder. Deep breathing. If this feels uncomfortable at any point, just back out and go back to the previous variation. Another breath in otherwise. And then exhale, return back into a low lunge. And on an exhale, start straightening the right leg. So we're going into a half splits position. So go again as far as feels good for you. You might be able to straighten your leg completely, or if you need to keep a little bend in the knee, you can do. You can flex your right toes towards you for a bit more of a stretch at the back of the leg. And another variation is to sit back onto your left heel. So whatever feels comfortable for you, you don't have to. Wherever you are, on an inhale, see if you can lengthen your spine, look forwards. And on an exhale, walk your fingertips forwards, folding over that right leg. Deep breathing. Another inhale, and on an exhale, rebend the right knee. Come back into a low lunge. Place your hands flat on the mat and step back into a tabletop position. On an inhale, arch the spine and look forwards. On an exhale, around the back and look down. Inhale, come into a neutral spine. Exhale, tuck the toes under, downward facing dog. So this is the only bit of movement and flow that we're going to do in between the poses today, just to reset the spine. Inhale and down dog. On an exhale, drop your knees back down onto the mat. Inhale, stretch your left leg back and lift. On an exhale, bend your left knee round the spine. Bring your knee towards your chest, maybe touch the nose, and step your left foot in between your hands. So we're coming into a low lunge on this leg. So again, you can move your right knee back a bit to feel the stretch in the right hip, the front of your right hip, the psoas. Left knee is over your left ankle. Right toes can be tucked, or you can release them and just hold here for a moment, see how that feels in the hips. You can always use some props here, so if you're finding it challenging to drop your fingertips down onto the mat, you can pop them on a couple of blocks. If you find that you want to go a little bit deeper, place your right hand flat onto the mat, start bending your right knee, and see if you can grab hold of your right foot with your left hand this time. And once you've got it, kick that foot into your hand, open the left shoulder up. A bit of a bonus stretch for the shoulder here. Let's hold it for another breath. And then exhale, release back into our lay lunge. And on your next exhale, start straightening the left leg as far as feels comfortable for you. So the same variations on this side, you can keep your toes on the mat, or you can maybe flex them towards your body for a deeper stretch at the back of your left leg. Or you can sit back onto your right heel, just a different variation of this half split stretch. Wherever you are, let's inhale, lengthen the spine. On an exhale, fold forwards over the left leg. Another deep breath in. And then on an exhale, we bend the left knee, hands flat to the mat, step back into tabletop position. Inhale, arch the spine and look forwards. Exhale, round the back and look down. Inhale, come into neutral spine. Exhale, tuck the toes under, downward facing dog. Another deep breath in down dog. On an exhale, drop your knees back down onto the floor, back into tabletop. And this time, move your hands to the left side of your mat and step your right foot forwards. So your hands are on the inside of your right foot. Again, you can move the left knee back a bit if you want to feel a bit more of a stretch. Release the toes. And see if you can roll onto the outer edge of your right foot now. So stretching the right hip. You can place your right hand onto your right knee and just gently press on the knee. You'll feel a better stretch in the hip. Or if you want to, you can start twisting to the right as well. Again, deepening the stretch in the hip. Gazing towards the back of the room. Inhale. On an exhale, come back. And you can hold this stretch for another couple of breaths. This variation, staying on the outer edge of your right foot. If you want to go even deeper, maybe drop onto your elbows. And just take another few deep breaths here. And then calm back up. Tuck the toes on the left foot, step your right leg back into a tabletop position. Inhale, arch the spine, look forwards. Exhale, round the back and look down. Inhale, come into a neutral spine. Exhale, tuck the toes under, downward facing dog. Inhale and down dog. On an exhale, drop your knees back down onto the mat, and then move your hands to the right side of the mat this time and step your left leg forwards. Again, moving the right knee back if you need to. Left knee is over your left ankle. Right toes can stay tucked or release them. Hands are on the inside of your left foot. And then see if you can roll onto the outer edge of your left foot. Hopefully you'll feel a much better stretch in your left hip. Maybe you can place your left hand onto the left knee and just press on that knee gently. Maybe you want to take a little twist and gaze towards the back of the room. If at any point the stretch feels uncomfortable or painful, please just back out and go into previous variation or take a rest. You're not doing your body any favours if you're forcing the stretch. It should feel challenging but never painful. One more deep breath in and then return back into a low lunge. Stay on the outer edge of your left foot if you want to. Maybe you can drop onto your elbows for a deeper stretch. So we're just going to hold this stretch for another couple of breaths, whichever variation you want. And then when you're ready, come back onto your hands. If you were on your elbows, tuck the toes on your right foot and step your left leg back into a tabletop position. Let's inhale, arch the spine and look forwards. Exhale, round the back and look down. Inhale, come into a neutral spine. Exhale, downward facing dog. So a deep breath in down dog. And then on an exhale, you're going to walk your hands back towards your feet. So we're coming into a forward fold. Bend your knees generously and lower your chest over your thighs. Your hands could be on your shins or maybe fingertips to the floor. And just hang here in this forward fold for a couple of breaths. You can gently sway side to side if you want to. And then have your fingertips wherever you can reach and see if you can straighten your right leg, keeping the left knee bent, and just hold. And then switch sides, straighten your left leg, keep the right knee bent and hold. And then return back and see if you can maybe work both legs in the direction of straight. And you might want to move your hands up on your legs. Maybe you want to grab hold of the back of your legs. Whatever feels comfortable for you. Let's just hang here for another breath or two. Honestly, there's nothing better than a forward fold for your lower back and your hamstring stretch. Really good stretch for it. And then place your fingertips on the mat or again on your shins and just toe heel your feet out until they're about mat width apart. And then point your toes out so they're about 45 degrees. And from here we're going to start squatting down. So depending on how flexible you are in your hips and your ankles, you might be able to lower all the way down, keeping your heels on the floor. If this is not possible, there is a couple of tricks you can do. You can roll up your mat a few times and then place your heels, if your heels are lifting, onto the mat. That might be able to help you. If this is not accessible, you might want to place your hands on your knees and just stay in a higher squat. You might want to open your feet out a little bit wider. But ideally, if you can, see if you can lower all the way down with your heels down on the floor. And then have your fingertips in front of you for balance. Or if you're feeling quite balanced in this pose, maybe bring your hands in prayer in front of your chest and use your elbows to just gently open your knees out to the side. So again, a really, really good stretch for the hips and the lower back. This, if you have any lower back pain, this is definitely a stretch to do. Let's hold it for another breath. And then place your fingertips back on the mat and start lifting your hips back up into a forward fold to heel your feet until they're about hip width apart. Having your legs bent or straight, whatever works for you, so you can alternate again between lowering your heels down. Just going to hold here for another breath. And then start walking your hands back towards the front of your mat, so you can bend your knees to reach the floor and come back into a downward facing dog. Deep breath here. And then drop your knees down onto the mat, bring your big toes to touch, and let's sit back in a child's pose for a break. So lowering your chest and your forehead down onto the floor. Your arms are stretching forwards. And then when you're ready, inhale, come back into a tabletop position. Have your right hand flat on the mat. Take an inhale, and on an exhale, stretch your left arm underneath your right, lowering the left shoulder and the left ear down onto the floor. So we did this stretch in the upper body class for the shoulders, but as with a lot of poses in yoga, a pose can have benefits on more than one part of your body. So this is an excellent twist, not only for the shoulders, but also the lower back. If you can't quite reach the floor with your shoulder, you can stay up, lifting here. And if you're finding this quite comfortable, maybe see if you can stretch your right fingertips forwards. Another deep breath. And then let's come back up into a tabletop position, and we'll switch sides to have your left hand flat on the floor. Inhale, and on an exhale, stretch your right arm underneath your left, lowering the right shoulder and your right ear down onto the mat this time. And again, if you're finding this quite comfortable, you can maybe stretch your left fingertips forwards. If you're finding this a little bit too challenging, just come up and just stretch your right hand underneath your left without going onto your shoulder. Whichever variation you're at, let's take another breath in. And then exhale, come back up into tabletop. And let's just cross our legs and sit back down onto the mat for a couple of seated stretches and a couple of stretches lying down before we finish off. So straighten your legs out in front of you, keep your your left leg straight and bend your right knee towards you. And then bring your right foot into your left thigh, square your hips towards your left toes, and inhale, see if you can reach your arms up, and on an exhale, fold forwards over your left leg. So grab hold of wherever you can reach on that leg. It's a similar stretch to what we did with our legs wide, only this time the legs are stretching forward. So try and relax into the stretch. Try not to round the back too much. Just release the tension in the lower back with your breath. Don't force the stretch, just wait for it to happen. Patience is key. On an inhale, come back up, and we'll switch sides. So straighten the right leg, bend your left knee, bring your left foot into your right thigh. Try and square your hips towards the front edge of the mat as much as possible. Inhale, lift your arms up, and on an exhale, fold forwards. Again, You don't have to be grabbing hold of your foot. You can just lay up here on your thigh or maybe your shin, anywhere you can reach. The key is to try and relax into the stretch, so try not to force anything. Take another breath in and then come back up. And then straighten both legs in front of you. Bend your knees and bring the soles of your feet to touch, Barakanasana. Bring your feet as close to you as possible. Again, you can sit up on the blanket if you find that you're leaning back too much and you're struggling to balance in this pose. Just turn so you can see. Let your knees relax to the sides. Maybe you can grab hold of your big toe or of your toes. Inhale, on an exhale, lean forward and maybe use your elbows to just gently open your knees out to the side. So again, a good lower back stretch. Feel it in my inner thighs and the hips as well. On an inhale, let's come up. And from here, we're going to lie down onto the mat. So bend the knees and see if you can lie down with control. Have your left knee bent, foot flat on the mat, and then bring your right foot over your left knee and just gently open your right knee out. So it's about, your shin's about 90 degrees. This could be already quite a deep stretch for your right hip. If you want it to go a bit further, start bringing your left knee towards your body. Maybe interlace your hands behind your left thigh or maybe over your left shin. So the closer you bring your knee towards you, the more stretch you should feel in your right hip. And we're going to hold this for a couple of breaths. So just again, try and relax into the stretch. Maybe close your eyes, focus your attention on the area where you feel the stretch the most, and see if you can release with an exhale. Another breath in, and then on an exhale, continue crossing that right leg over your left until your right knee is stacked on top of your left knee, so kind of a cross-legged position. Or bring your hands onto either your shins or maybe your ankles, or if you can grab hold of your feet, that's great. And then see if you can start drawing your legs towards you, your feet towards you, and you'll feel a deep, deep stretch in the right hip this way. One more inhale. And then release, uncross your legs, bring your feet back down onto the floor, and we'll do the same poses on the other side. So right knee bend, right foot flat on the mat, bring your left foot over your right knee and then open your left knee out to the side until your left shin's kind of parallel with the front edge of the mat. Stay here. If you want to go a little bit deeper, start bringing your right knee towards you, interlace your hands behind your right thigh or maybe over your right shin. Stay at the level that suits you, your body best today. And you might find that on different days you feel different. So you could be feeling a bit tight today, but tomorrow if you try the same stretch it might feel completely different, which is absolutely fine. And you might also find that you feel it different on different sides of the body, which again is completely normal. We're not symmetrical, or very rarely we are. Another deep breath, and then continue crossing that left leg over your right until your knees are stacked. Have your hands to wherever you can reach on your legs, maybe your feet, the outer edges of your feet, and start bringing your feet closer to your body. Again, this should feel a deep stretch in your left hip this way. One more inhale. And then exhale, release. Bring your feet back down onto the mat. And then bring your feet together and let your knees fall out. So the same Barakasana pose, but lying down. Just let your knees relax down onto the floor. Have your hands onto your legs somewhere, or maybe just on the floor, palms facing up. And let's just take a few deep breaths here before we finish off in Shavasana. So when you're ready, you can straighten your legs and let your feet fall out, or you can have your feet a bit wider than hip width apart with your knees bent, and then draw your knees together, and that kind of helps to close the gap between the lower back and the floor, and sometimes it's a bit more comfortable to lie in that position. So whichever variation you want, lie down in Shavasana for a few breaths. Try and keep the mind present for another few moments until we finish the class. Let your body relax, let it sink into the floor. Try not to tense any part of the body. Work your way up from the toes to the crown of your head and let everything relax. And as always, I will leave you in this Shavasana pose. If you've got a few more minutes, please stay down on the floor and relax for a little bit longer. Otherwise, I really hope you enjoyed today's class, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you for joining. Namaste.